my channel, True Talk with Ericka, Sallee, where I empower women to live fulfilled, to focus on well-being mentally, physically, and spiritually, and to transform into the best versions of themselves. And so if these are things that are of interest to you, then I do encourage you to subscribe to the channel, share it out, and then turn the notification bell on so that you know when new videos are uploaded. And if by chance this is your first time here on my channel, let me welcome you and just take a really brief moment to introduce myself as a speaker, an Amazon #1 best-selling author, and transformation success coach. I get super excited to help women figure out what stands in the way when you think about doing something for yourself or pursuing a dream or a goal. And the beauty is that I get to share strategies to help you move beyond whatever it is that's holding you back so that you can move forward to do and to be what is purposeful and meaningful to you. So I'm standing here in the kitchen, and I have been making my own coffee creamer for a little while now. It's actually pretty simple, it's fun, and I know what's in it, to be quite frank. So it's really simple. I do use soaked cashews. So most of the time I soak them for at least 4 hours, sometimes overnight. This morning I got ready to make my coffee and I'm like, oh gosh, I don't have any coffee creamer. So I had to boil these. So that's a quick way of doing it. I also use a little bit of vanilla and the sweetener of choice, which is either blue agave or maple syrup, 100% pure maple syrup, and a little bit of cinnamon with some water. But as I was doing that, I went back to my experience in the grocery store over the weekend. So I go to the store, getting ready to buy granola bars. I pick up a box, I look at the back, and I'm reading the ingredients. And as I get to the last line of the ingredients, it said bioengineered ingredients. Now, I don't really know what that means. I'm thinking probably not something that I wanted to purchase. So I'm standing there, put the box back, and I was like, okay, let me find a recipe for granola bars, which I did. So over the weekend, I made my own granola bars. So I actually stored them in the fridge, and when I just took the lid off, like, you can just smell all of the ingredients, all of which I know exactly what they are, like, because I made them. But this is what I thought about, and that is, sometimes we get to a point where we recognize that something does not serve us. Whether you look at a box and you look at the ingredients and you're saying, no, I can't do that, I don't know what that is, how do you pronounce that? Whether it is a relationship that doesn't serve you, whether you are in a job and you're like, I don't really like the way this makes me feel, or I'm not growing, I'm not learning, I need to explore something new. Like, you know when the time comes for you to make a new decision. Now, I'm not advocating for someone to just go out and say, oh, you know what, I don't like my job, so I quit. Nope, you didn't hear that here on this channel, so let me be very, very clear about that. But here's what I do want you to think about, is that if you are in a situation and there's something that triggers you to say, oh, I need to do something different, then don't ignore that. And here's a few simple things to keep in mind as you navigate what that might look like for you. Number one, the first step is to recognize when that moment comes. As I'm standing in the aisle at the grocery store, the moment for me was when I looked at that box, I was like, I don't know what that is. And there was something that said to me, ooh, you probably don't want to buy that. So that's the first thing. Like, you know exactly when you get to a place and you say, something doesn't feel right about this. You fill in the blank for whatever your this is. The second step is the decision point. I could have decided to just drop that box in my cart with all the other things that were already there, but I decided that I didn't want to do that. And so the decision point was, okay, now that I'm here and I recognize that I really don't want to do this, this really doesn't feel right, I want to choose something different, okay, yes or no? The answer for me was no, I'm not going to do that. So if you decide at that moment, then the next thing is, well, what's the alternative? There's always an alternative. There's multiple ways to do the same thing. So thinking about the alternative had me stand there and say, well, maybe I can make them. And I'm actually looking up a recipe right there in the aisle because I wanted to make sure if I'm going to make them, I'm probably going to need to get some other ingredients. So I wanted to take care of that. So that's the next thing. And then the last thing was that I had never made granola bars before. It's easier to just go get a box from the store because you don't have to do anything but pick the box off the shelf, go to the line, pay for them. So I was a little nervous about it because I'd never made them, and I'm trusting a recipe that I was like, okay, let me just pick one out of the millions that are probably out there. But I trusted myself to follow the steps. And at the end of the day, I got something that I was very proud of, and that actually tasted pretty good. And not to mention the fact that it was a little easier than I thought. So at the end of the day, we have the ability to create something that works for us. That's part of the transformation process. And so if you're watching this right now and you're saying to yourself, I'm at a place where something has said to me, this does not feel right, or I don't look at this the way that I should, or there's something that's different about this stage of my life that I'm in. That's the nudge that's letting you know, okay, well, maybe this is a transformation point, which is that decision, right? Number 2. And then third, what is the alternative? When you think about what the alternative is, then it is about, well, let me get more information about it. Let me do more research. Let me seek counsel, whether that's professional, whether it's personal. Let me think through it and try to figure out how to map out a new strategy to take a different path. And then lastly, trust yourself when you begin to take those steps. The beauty of transformation is that we get to do just that, taking small steps towards something bigger. And it doesn't have to happen right away. In most cases, it doesn't. But it just gives us that moment of, okay, I'm moving towards something that feels better for me and that makes me feel joyful and fulfilled. So, as I think about these granola bars and this coffee creamer that I'm about to make, I get excited when I do that because I know, number one, it's effort that I've made. And yeah, it takes a little bit longer than just going to the store and picking something out. But it makes me feel a lot better when I know what it is that I'm putting into my body. And I'm paying attention to that a lot more these days. So whatever it is for you, define it. And know that when you begin to take the steps toward that thing that makes you feel better about where you are right now, then that's a good thing. That is a good thing. So I'm going to continue on to make my concoction here. But I do invite you to come on back and hang out with me again. I also want you to leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this conversation. Would love to hear from you. So with that being said, I look forward to seeing you all again real soon. But until I do, come on back, take care of yourselves, and yes, be well.